Welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays. Coming up this week, the Ubuntu phones are on hold, but not for the reasons that you might suspect. And we get some real-world Linux stats, finally. But it's from something of an unusual source.
A new desktop environment joins the fold. As usual, we ask, why? And Linux Luddites are dead. Long live late-night Linux. The alliteration is gone, but we gain in podcasting content.
Open source creative software continue to receive major updates. This week it's with the awesome Inkscape. And GNOME is modernizing its stack, where they introduce some bits of Rust and Vulkan.
Okay, getting right into the business. The Ubuntu phone on pause question mark, which usually means probably not really, but really kind of sorta, because Canonical says that we won't see a new Ubuntu phone model released until the Snap-based versions of Ubuntu are ready for the prime time.
Yeah.
Pedro, were you with me? And your first response was like, they're still making those?
Yeah, no, it's kind of weird to hear about Ubuntu phone news at this point. I mean, we kind of already knew that they were dead for the most part, because they said a while back that, yeah, we're not focusing so much and we're kind of taking a step back in development and we want to see where this is going. And now we know exactly where it's going. They're waiting for snaps to become a thing. Now, distributing phone apps as snap packages, that's all very well and good, and it's actually not that far off from how Android does. That's not that far off from how Android does the APKs, so fair enough. Now, there's one thing about this article that kind of didn't strike me as very good, because they're basically shafting the early adopters, and at this point, because people who bought the already existing phones, they're not going to get any more updates. So that's not just burning away the good faith from those early adopters. It's just salting the ground that they walked on.
No. The early adopters will clearly just buy another one, right?
Uh-huh.
So it really depends on whether their devices can run a newer kernel, which is required to run snap packages. So if the device can run more recent version of Android, they might be able to run the future updates with the snap packages. But it's not really... Ubuntu has no control over that. And this article, it got misunderstood quite a bit because people believe that Ubuntu phone was totally dead, which it is not. I mean, they're just moving away from their past packaging implementation, which was click packages, and they're totally switching to snaps, which is, kind of good.
Okay, well, let's get into the Inkscape business.
Ooh. So yeah, the Inkscape, so it's this vector drawing program. It's pretty much the only one we got under Linux, well, the only good one. And it received a major update with 0.92. It's got some major new features, like some live pass effects and some major improvements, like for the usage, like mesh gradients, all get that kind of stuff. I'm really eager to try it. They also modernized their development stack. They move from AutoTools to CMake, and they've used like GTK3 and C++11. Quite awesome. I love Inkscape. I'm eager to try it.
That's
it's
definitely something
available.
I think we'll play with. You do have a thing in the show notes. If you're interested in our show notes, you'll check that out. All this business will be in there, because there are currently snap packages for it, so you can try before you buy, but maybe you could launch it on your Lumia desktop.
Yes, it's Lumina, actually. Van, come on.
Lumina?
No, it's a new desktop environment, which it's based on LXDE. And if you thought that LXDE wasn't enough like KDE for you, boy, do these folk have a desktop environment for you. Yes, as you can see, I've been sharing you the screenshots on the video version. It looks like basic LXD, just a panel at the bottom with some compositing effects and some weird area thingies around the icons on the
Really?
desktop.
That's what you think of this? Because to me, this comes across more of like KDE on a budget.
Yes, it's it looks a lot like KDE, but it's actually LXD based. Now they say that they want to make a modern desktop environment on top of LXD, so that's good.
I don't know. I mean, are
guess.
you saying you can get all of the ugliness of KDE without having to install Qt?
The kitchen sink.
Yeah, all right.
Maybe. I don't know if they're using Qt or not.
Qt. I mean, it's based off Qt, but yeah, I mean, it's really similar to the other like KDE on a budget, which is LXQT, which is getting like more traction as it's being adopted by default in Ubuntu, like next release. Keep in mind that this is the default desktop for True OS, which is not Linux, it's BSD. I kind of like this idea of these distros that are focused on one desktop environment, and it's kind of like Solus, which is focused on Budgie. Then you have this True OS, which has this reference desktop, which is Lumina.
And remember, kids, if you want to install a new desktop, you definitely need to reinstall your distribution.
Yeah, you need to download an entirely new ISO.
Around.
But speaking of GTK, since Budgie is actually GTK based, this week in GTK Plus, the 30th edition, they have some new and interesting things, including but not limited to Benjamin Ott and George Basil Stavrakis Neto have been working on making the Vulkan GSK renderer work on Wayland. Awesome! Finally! Thank you very much. There's finally a desktop environment which is actively working and implementing Vulkan as a render for the actual desktop. Thank you. Is that so hard?
Yeah, I mean, it's for GSK only, so this can be seen as the follow-up to Clutter. It's a framework to draw like some graphically rich application. You can think of it like you would use it to do things like Kodi or Steam Big Picture. We are planning to use this in Lutris in the future, maybe. But yeah, it's not going to be used for like the regular Windows. But yeah, if you have some things that is using like maybe 3D, like 2D stuff that is not using the regular widgets, then yeah, you will be using this.
But I want some, actual window rendering, because that's the end goal here, or at least I hope so, is that you can get everything on the desktop environment to be rendered in Vulkan. Like base desktop rendering, compositing, hell, if
language.
the GT... come on. If the GTK3 version of Mate will also provide Vulkan rendering in the not too distant future, we may even have a proper desktop environment to run it in.
It would be fun, and I, for one, look forward to our wobbly Vulkan overlay. So...
Oh, yeah. So also part of the GTK updates, they are starting to implement to use the Rust language as part of their libraries. So now this is used currently in SVG. So it's a rendering for SVG drawings. This could be a good start, like maybe to move away from Vala and use Rust. And it's quite good to see Rust being used outside of Mozilla, because in the past I've only seen Rust being used there. They do apologize for distribution maintainers because they will have to implement the Rust stack, and I don't think they should apologize for that. I mean, it's their job to do that.
No, I just I'm glad more people are taking advantage of Gary Newman's
Yes,
engine.
Naked Caveman Simulator.
So, what do we have here?
Here, this will just be a quick mention. There's a new mini type laptop kind of thing going up on Indiegogo for crowdfunding without a working prototype, because that's where projects go when they only have a 3D rendering of what it might look like when it's released. They say it will probably have like 7-inch IPS touchscreen display, an Intel Atom X7Z 8700, 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and a 7,000 milliamp battery. That's all very well and good, but there are no prototypes of
Sweet
this.
Flying Spaghetti Monsters, do they not have a link to the Indiegogo on this page?
It's right there at the I don't think they've released it yet. Yeah. Yeah, they plan. Here's the thing. According to Tonchiki, GPD plans to launch an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign for the GPD Pocket in February.
Do they say anything about the pricing?
Nope.
Not yet. They probably won't, because it's another one of these devices that's getting crowdfunded, and we've seen several times that this doesn't work. I mean, it's too bad. It could have been a neat little device.
But it has a trackball, Strider. Come on.
Yeah, it's got a Windows button on it.
This
Nope.
is
No money for
kind
me.
of like awkward, like track points, and it's a good thing that it's got a touchscreen, because the track point is kind of
John's got a pretty good point. He's like, I'm talking about this Vio that you guys clearly ripped off.
Yeah. That one already exists. Didn't go very far. But hey, let's take a little break from the news, just a teeny tiny one, and let out a big thank you to everyone who makes this very show possible. Thank you all very, very much. And this week we actually have a whole bunch of new Patreons, don't we?
Patreons? What's that? That sounds like madness. Are people trying to keep us loud, live, and independent and prevent us from reading 30 ads per 45-minute show?
Insane.
It's craziness. Who do we have coming up this week?
Yep, this week we had Mr. Martin Watts, the Linux Noob, System T, Nick G, Mark M, and Eric H, which actually upped his pledge. Awesome. Thank you all very, very much. We're up to 158 a week. That's kind of awesome. That's $17 away from 175. It's awesome. We can start doing recurring streams if we get up there.
Oh, man. Well, we're closing in on that. 2 more shows, not just from us, but from all the LGC family will get on, be able to prototype. We're at 158 of that 175 goal. So if you think some of this nonsense, if you like this nonsense, we have a little more adult show that goes down on Saturday. If you want to come check that out around 9:30 Eastern time, that focuses primarily on gaming. One thing I do want to mention is we have some Amazon links. So if you're like, 16 quarters a month is madness, which I understand, man, because I've been there. But if you head over to linuxgamecast.com, we have some Amazon links just to support the shows and button. If you're thinking about buying something, I don't know, like $1 million worth of IT stuff, that'd be great, because we get a little cut of that, a little bit of that taste, and it's pretty awesome. And no, I did have somebody ask me that last week, which I forgot to mention. We don't get your name. We don't even get the items that you order. Nothing. It says, boop, somebody bought something on that day. So that's as much as we could possibly creep on you. But that would only be after I spend another 35 minutes trying to figure out how to get into that account. Fun times. So
what's this?
We got a weird vulnerability here coming, like it's for Android devices, and it's something that will hijack your DNS servers. It will like log into your router and change the DNS, and then do all sorts of nasty stuff. So the thing is, it's pretty targeted at the Chinese market, because it's only available from a Baidu app and another one that says like another Chinese app. So it should be pretty secure if you do not use those apps. That said, the vulnerability itself is very simple. It will like try to log into your router. It will try to the default passwords, which people don't change. Let's be honest about this. And it will like change the DNS servers with JavaScript. That's it. It's done. It's very simple. So maybe change your default password. I mean, I have to do it because mine, I haven't done it.
I think in conclusion for this story is pro tip. Don't download stuff off Baidu.
Yeah, no, seriously.
No,
you see something with Baidu in the name and you don't live in China, stay away.
Yeah, install trusted APKs if you download some stuff out of the Play Store. Like you can install stuff from Humble Bundle. I would say that's trusted enough. But outside of that, be careful what you install. If it's
So what's this? You actually attempt to sneak a Phoronix link into the show notes, didn't you, Strider?
Oh, so that was, yes, from Phoronix, but also from the freedesktop.org
Actual
mailing
source
list.
without blog spam.
Yes.
And this was kind of neat. I mean, I found this kind of neat because they're trying to implement user space DRM drivers, which currently they are targeting Raspberry Pis. And this is a good thing because on embedded devices, you can have all kinds of exotic display drivers. And you don't want to get all of them into the kernel necessarily. This could be a very good thing in the future if it gets implemented actually.
Okay, you got to rap with me and help me out here. I mean, when we're talking about DRM, we all know Linux users are probably one, if not the largest proponent in favor of DRM, right, guys?
Not that DRM. It's not that one. It's the Direct Rendering Manager. Yeah, it provides direct rendering to all of the drivers, and it is currently located in the kernel. Now, in the interest and coming hot on the heels of that story about AMD trying to implement a hardware abstraction layer in the kernel, it probably makes a good idea of sense to move the direct rendering manager to user space instead of keeping it in the kernel. Unless some people, maybe start calling them out. Oh, well, why can they have that? We can't. So, I mean, it's good, but right now the patch set is up for comment. So chances are it'll probably be another 6 months before it actually gets implemented, if it ever does.
I don't know, Strider. I mean, we're definitely looking at something. It's going to take a massive performance hit if we actually manage to pull this off.
No, it doesn't, because on the Raspberry Pi, like on this weird little display, there was like 19 FPS with the kernel implementation and 18 FPS with the user space implementation. So basically,
unacceptable. I can't live under those type of conditions. It'd make me really grumpy.
Yeah, so grumpy. So that's coming from Google, specifically from YouTube. They are huge users of Python.
They're also users of like cutie little animation that is kind of like grindhouse snuff film type stuff, right?
Yeah, it's like it's a transpiler. So Grumpy is a transpiler that will convert your Python code to Go, which is kind of neat because Python biggest flaw is the lack of good concurrency, and this is exactly what Go does very well. But it can be understood you won't be able to use like the C modules you have in Python.
Okay, give me the negatives, give me the benefits. Why would I want to do this? Start.
It's to benefit from Go's good concurrency implementation.
Multi-threading. Basically, multi-threading. Go creates a bunch of lightweight threads.
Hey man, technically Python's multi-threaded if you're stretching definitions.
Not true. There is this thing called the global interpreter lock, which prevents to do a bunch of things. So you can do concurrency, you can do those kind of things, but there are still some issues.
And with Python being a reasonably high-level language, actually getting it to use all of the available hardware because it's so far off from the metal, as it were, it's an issue. So yeah, it makes sense to put it in Go.
All right. Well, how about let's go to the next story. Hide your kids, hide your wives, cover up your little children's ears if you're hyper puritanical or anything like that, because we're going to be talking about Pornhub, which I just never thought I'd get to say that on this show. But they released their 2016 year in review. You can see the video version. This is 100% PG, but we're just giving you that fair warning. Just traffic by operating system. And I love seeing stuff like this because this is real world. You know, this isn't Steam surveys that you might get once every 3 years. And, hey, man, Linux is up 14% year over year from 2015. Now, Windows is only at 1%, Mac 8%, but what really confuses me is the other. I don't believe there's that many BSD users.
Apparently they are, or, you know, they moved from BSD to the other operating systems, but it doesn't really, what really kind of threw me off was 28% down.
No.
Okay, if you add up the 1% up, 8% up, 14% up, that's not 28. There's like, let's see, there's 5% missing. Where'd that go?
Yeah, you know what they say, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. So, I mean, what the hell is that other operating system?
Well,
this could be anything.
This entire thing's going to be put together, you know, using your identifier string in your browser. So, I'm guessing that's your other. People are hitting it with, you know, web browser or whatever came in there, you know, $10 Android device.
And haiku users could also not be watching as much porn as the rest of us.
I go there for the stand-up comedy, man. What's wrong with you?
Admittedly, there's good stand-up comedy there.
All right, one last thing before we close out.
Indeed. So this is Linux After Dark. It is, it is basically the continuation of the old Linux Luddites podcast. It comes, two of the co-hosts, I can't remember their names, my brain and names, not so very good. But yeah, two of the old Linux Luddite co-hosts will be joining you. And instead of having one Irish guy, they have two. One of them is Ike Doherty, which we've had on this very show at one point. I honestly can't remember when. But the first episode is out. And as you'd expect, they're, you know, treading on eggshells. It's the first thing. But if they keep it up, it'll definitely become far more entertaining as they get the chemistry going. There was a disturbing amount of content and far not enough tangents as I'm used to because, you know, seeing as what me...
Pedro, that's because Jordan, you're on one of the most foul-mouthed, tangenty, ranting podcasts. It's not even Linux, just podcast known to me.
Yeah, just Linux Gamecast Weekly. There's Linux in the name, and we use the Linux gaming excuse to talk about stuff, but there's just a lot of tangents there.
I, for one, I'm just really happy to see some new Linuxy content, not from us for a change.
Yeah.
Good on that. And, you know, the more the merrier. I definitely want to support this, and you can head over there. It's latenightlinux.com is their web zone, and it's available in the MP3s and in, I believe, the, OGS. Strider, you're if Ike's doing it, let me switch your video, guys, but I need a camera on Ike and a camera on the punching bag. And a third camera, and I'll just cut as needed.
Yeah, I mean, they say we can expect drinking, swearing, and strong opinions. And
so Saturday night,
that got my attention. But they also say we can expect Ike being told to shut up about Solus. But is that even possible?
Oh, he didn't mention that in the very first episode. He does mention that Solus will be known as the distro which shall not be named. That's a Ubuntu podcast reference. And he actually spends a lot of time speaking about Solus, so much for that.
Okay, I think before we get into a little feedback, we need to check in on the slice of pie.
Let's make some tea to go with that pie.
So it's... once again, it's a useless use of a Raspberry Pi. I mean, you could do that with I don't know.
Anything?
Anything like a few electronics components. You don't need a 1 gigahertz CPU and a full-blown computer to do that. But
It will open that DVD tray real fast.
I think the
Anyway,
biggest challenge for this
yeah.
thing is sourcing the physical media drive.
Yeah,
Oh.
actually getting a drive that you can hook. Well, you could probably get it even easier if you have one of those old USB powered ones.
So
Yeah.
what this does, it's you put your tea bag glued on a stick on your CD drive, and when the CD drive opens, it pulls up the tea bag. It's all that it does. There's a timer to know how long
Redo it. Yeah, it actually goes through 12 cycles. It plops it down, brings it up, waits a little bit, plops it back down. It does that 12 times. And when it's done, you get a little message on the terminal saying, your tea's ready. Now, they did include a little Easter egg that if you don't run it as sudo, what does it do, Strider?
So I don't think it is an actual Easter egg, but I've noticed that they call the script with sudo. And I would expect that if you don't call it with sudo, like it would tell you, go make it yourself. and then I have to wonder, where is the sandwich scripts? Like sudo, make me a sandwich.
That's
I want that.
I mean, definitely with XKCD. I'm looking at that. It's we could handily rename the segment "Useless but Neat."
Yeah.
But hey, another cool project, another fun thing to play with. You can also I saw a guy on Slashdot billions of years ago. He hooked one up to a crib. To rock.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, good going. So we're about out of here, but we want to give you a chance to talk back at us.
Scream in our direction, yes. And you can do that by going to linuxgamecast.com. You hit that lovely contact button on that nav bar. You fill out the form. Make sure to pick LWDW if you want to send some feedback our way, or if you want to send some hate mail for Linux Gamecast Weekly, you can do that too. Just pick LGCU Weekly. It's easy enough. And you can also leave us a comment on YouTube, Patreon, whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to do it. And definitely if you want to leave us a comment on the show page as a Patreon, that is basically saying we're going to put it on the show next week.
Yeah. So last week, I specifically asked people not to tell us about their computing history.
And I said, gimme.
Yeah, no, inertia is, well, he or she goes through the list. H5, Sinclair's ZX81. They said he also has access to various Atari knockoffs and some Acorn Risk tape-driven things at around the same time, like age 8 through 9. Age 8 through 10, he started the first network gaming, which was Fireball on the Acorn. First online gaming and internet was around 1992 for playing something on the Amiga. That's fine. And oh no, it was the 1486. My bad.
The I-486, because I mean,
Yeah.
unless they had some weird naming schemes in Space Portugal, we never got
No,
a
it's
1486.
that's an I. It looks like a 1. That's weird fun. No, it's a 486. Yes, and then he tried OS2 Warp. And he's been using Linux desktop since around 1998.
So 1990, noob. I kid, and I poke fun because we care. No, that's pretty drawn out history, better than mine. I think Strider and I had more Amigas in our life growing up than.
I've used an Amiga until 94, I think, 95 maybe. Yeah, and he mentions he's played Civilization on DOS.
Mm-hmm.
He could have played that on the Amiga. I mean, that would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, depending if you could find some place that actually carried Amiga games and you didn't have to mail order them, which was also a fun thing. Yeah, that's good times. I think my first
664.
I didn't consider it a real computer. It was like my mom just sacrificed it to me because she knew me, and I was just going to rip it apart to figure out how it was like a 286 SX, no math coprocessor, nothing like that, and it was pretty much rubbish. My first real computer was a Pentium 70, which I didn't buy, so I can say I've never bought an Intel desktop. Anything I bought after that, which I had to buy myself after that, was always AMD. I like the Amigas. Had a hand-me-down Amiga 4K. It's an interesting piece of kit. Of course, we had a Trash. We had a ZX. We had the Acorn, stupid little piece of monkey stupid computer. It was pretty useless. Like the microcomputers, the whole scene, it was kind of neat. But then, the Master Drive came out. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to use this to play games now.
Yeah, no, my first computing experience was with my dad's old Commodore 64. I had a couple of those knockoff Ataris as well, like the I can't remember what it was called, the Vision Tech. The Vision Tech one, that was atrocious. And then I got my first actual PC it was a Pentium 4. Ooh. My parents weren't exactly rich back then.
But now they're just straight up balling, right?
No, not really.
Anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed our short little show. We're trying to get these back down to 30 minutes, and we're quite close this week, clocking in at just over 32. We shall return. Patreon will be around Saturday, 9:30 Eastern. If you want to come look us up there, it's a bit more off the hinge, but if you want to get in touch with me in the interim, I'm at Vince Stone on the Twitter nets, or you can go to Google Plus and basically find an entire list of posts that I think that's cool. I don't want to forget about that. I use it as a bookmarking site. That's just, Google Plus, just Google Plus Vince Stone. You'll find it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same for me on Google Plus. It's google.com/+Pedromatheos. Or if you, for some reason, want to shout at me on Twitter, do so, please. I don't really post as much as I should on Twitter. You can find me at unaccounted4 there.
And you can find me on Twitter. Same thing. I should use it more. At Strikor, and on Google Plus Mathieu Commandant, and on Lutrus.net as well. I cannot manage the whole project.
Okay, that's beautiful. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.